Guys, I want to talk to you today about short selling because I've seen a lot of misconception out there in the social media and my wife and people that I play golf with and friends of mine that have never like even traded a stock from the long side, much less from the short side, explaining to me how the bad guys, the short sellers work and what they do. And so I want to clear up some misconceptions about the entire thing. Explain why short selling is actually an important aspect of how a free and efficient market, our markets, which are the envy of the world, operate. So short sellers help create what is a real price discovery. And they're a big participant in the market, and they actually come from other asset classes that are not stocks. Short sellers really came from the commodities markets, where hedgers, good old-fashioned farmers, would try to sell short some futures to hedge their inventory to make sure that they lock in a certain profit. But that's neither here nor there. In the stock market, short sellers, what they do is they make price spreads much more narrow, and they create a constant two-sided market, which is great for people that want to buy stock and not pay a huge spread and get charged a huge fee in spread to put on their trade, to buy the stock, to be an investor. So short selling is important. But I want to talk more about how do you short sell? So there's this concept that people on the short side can just sell stock and that's it. The way short selling works is you have a prime broker, and you go to your prime broker and you ask for what is called a borrow or a locate. And so they have a list, and they give you this list you go on this website. I used to do it every day. And you go on this list and you see, can I borrow this stock? So they have two lists. They have the easy to borrow lists where you can take a lot of stock. I would still press, in my hedge fund days, we would still bump up against how much size is easy to borrow. But then they have the hard to borrow list, which is like very few shares are available. And I would be on the phone with the head of the locate, the borrow desk at the biggest banks, the Goldmans and the Merrills of the world. And I would be, negotiating and pleading my case for why we need more stock. But anyways, then they give you an amount of stock. They say it's almost like getting an allocation in an IPO. They say, yes, Jeff, you can go sell short 2,000 shares of this stock. What they do is they look in their clients' accounts and see who has an extra 2,000 shares today that are unaccounted for that Jeff could short. And they charge me interest on it. So that's the rub. They charge interest on other people's shares to lend to me, another client. Banks are the ones that make all the money. It's not the hedge funds. This is a bank profit center. So what ends up happening is these really hard to borrow stocks, the ones that everyone knows are going to go down, that every genius out there is like, oh, did you short GameStop? Oh, did you short GameStop? And I would say something like, yeah, I mean, you can't really borrow it. And if you do, it's a 70% interest. What does that mean? That means if I short that stock has to go down 70%, down 70% in 12 months for me to break even on the trade, which isn't a great trade. That leaves me with only 30% possible. So I'm risking 30% shorting the stock, and I can lose hundreds of percent. That's not how I trade. I do it in reverse. I try to risk 5% to make 25%, 30%, 100%. So I'll teach you guys that. But I just wanted to clear up some there's no free money. There's no free lunch on the street. There's no free lunch. They always have their hand in your pocket. There's always an interest rate. There's always a game to be played. And the savvy, the slick guys, they're always watching these things. But I just wanted to clear some stuff up about short selling that's just been it's just been pissing me off because no one really knows what they're talking about with it. So listen to me. I've shorted a ton of stock. I will continue to look at stocks to short. It's harder these days, but I can give you a much better game plan on where you should be careful when you're shorting stocks and how you should model the trade and how you could use options to control your absolute risk. LFG guys, don't listen to the Muppets. Keep it clean. Keep it tight. I'll be back.